Which is a very culturally diverse city, and the environment that I was teaching in there for 17 years was quite a low socioeconomic environment. So just by the way that the world works, we had a lot of immigrants coming into that school from different places around the world, from particularly from Bangladesh, and then later on from Nigeria, and more recently children from Romania or Roma children coming into the school who have a completely different culture than what we were used to dealing with, and the challenges that that had. Being here in Dubai, we don't have those same challenges of not accepting other people in, but what we need to understand, and what's important that we teach our children, is that when they go on to other places in the world, they will probably experience this, like what the kind of things that is happening today around the world. So, why we value social studies? I think if we put Dubai on a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of our global citizenship, okay, 1 being the lowest, which is probably where I was as a child in St Helens with my 99% white British population, I think we could safely say that Dubai would be very, very high up in the global citizenship across the world. Would you agree? Yes. So what we teach is almost above what we would teach elsewhere in the world. Those whole concepts of global citizenship, we're very lucky to be able to think at that real top level of what a true global citizen is. And it's important that when we're delivering that we respect where our students are, however, without making assumptions of what they believe. And that's quite a difficult thing to balance, because all the time, don't we make assumptions. We make assumptions that our children understand the world, that they understand different cultures, they understand different religions and different values. But what we found is that teaching social studies in our school is not necessarily always the case.
Okay, so how do we deliver the curriculum? This is a small example, a small excerpt from the Ministry of Education textbook on social studies. And this is what we would call a year 9, so that's aged 12, 13 years old. There are 5 sections. Now, we've taken the textbook, we divide it up as we see fit. Now, if you read the textbook, the first thing that comes across to you is that it won't take very long to teach unless you do something with it. You've really got to get to grips with the themes rather than just the content of the textbook. So you're going to have to adapt it, and you're going to have to think, how is this going to fit in across a bigger space of time? From next year, we teach social studies 1 period a week, which is 51 hour a week, effectively, and it's taught by a variety of different specialists. So rather than have a social studies teacher, we have the students going from a rota, going from teacher to teacher over the course of the year. So we might, for one particular topic, perhaps the Arabs and Islam, they would be taught by a history teacher, to the historical aspects of it, the Arabs in the modern age, and how humans have allowed this part of the world to develop, might be taught by a geography teacher, for instance. So they go from place to place throughout the year on a rota. But effectively, you have to take a look at that book. There is no scheme of learning which has been designed that will allow you to do that. You need to take that book and you need to divide it up into the various sections that you feel are appropriate. For instance, I taught the Arabs and Islam. It doesn't matter, the Arabs and Islam, the Arabs of modern age, what specifically your specialism is, as long as you are prepared to become a specialist in that area. And sometimes I'm a science teacher, it's quite an eye-opener for the teacher, developing those skills that allow you to teach a topic like that, which I taught this year, and this one as well I taught this year.
So in terms of how we approach those topics, they're almost approached as like a big question. It's very much inquiry-based learning for the students. Typically we will have 28 students in a class, and we would divide the students up into probably groups of 3, certainly no more than groups of 4. And it may be that those topics are broken down even further into subheadings, and those are spread out around the group. What is really important is that the teacher fosters an environment where the children actually start to analyse and interpret their feelings about this particular topic. It's also important that it's open-ended in such a way, well it is to us anyway, that the students can present it in any which way they want to. That may be in terms of a video where they're making a film that they want to show to their peers, that may be in some form of artwork that they want to visually illustrate it, or it might be as simple as a PowerPoint presentation. Some students like to do workshops where they're going to do games about, I've seen them do board games on the timeline of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. I've seen all kinds of different creative ways of delivering this curriculum, but what we have seen going from class to class is the students really engaged in social studies. I've got a boy, my own son is in year 9, and obviously I was interested in how, what's his favourite lesson on this rotation, because it's, for us at Wellington it's in a rotation with music, drama and art. And so the year is split up on a rotation. He loves social studies. He loves really going and being given the opportunity to find out the growing population of the UAE, the dwindling population of the Emiratis and what that means to that culture. He loves to find out and tell me what the population is in this one particular week and what it's going to be maybe in 6 months' time. That really sparks his interest, and it's really encouraging to see, and it's exactly the same with students through all year groups.
Okay, so this is an example of a small set of lessons which were taken from the topic that I taught on the Arabs and Islam. So the first part of the ministry book takes about 5 or 6 lines, maybe a paragraph, to do the whole section. So we've taken that and thought, well, what is important for students to know and understand about that particular aspect? So this is about the life of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Now, obviously our Muslim students have a keen and deep understanding of this, especially when they get to year 9. They've had Islamic studies since they were in FS2 and year 1. However, I was a little bit surprised that some of them didn't have as deep understanding actually as I thought. So in that respect, it was a learning experience for them. But the important thing for me about a set of lessons like this is that we've got the students to work as a group. So as pairs, as fours, as teams, whatever it was, get the students to talk to each other because they have so many different backgrounds, so many different religions, so many different cultural identities. It's important that they share with them. They share with each other. So this particular lesson was about producing a timeline of the life of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And the timeline was given a choice about how they might, after their research, display.
I just want to ask here, can we correlate this as a cross-curricular link with other personalities in different religions? Because they all teach the same thing.
Well, you can, but the Ministry of Education book, which we are delivering, focuses on the Arabs and Islam in this particular context. So there's nothing wrong with taking that elsewhere, and if you allow time in your curriculum, develop your curriculum there. But we have 1 period a week, and it's full of this aspect. But I understand what you're saying, and it's a discussion.
And inclusiveness.
That could go on in something like PHSA, personal health, social education. It could perhaps go into that part of the curriculum. Yeah.
No offense or anything, but wouldn't this have been more appropriate for the Islamic teacher for non-Arabs to take up instead? I mean, like, would be a better position to explain this to the students?
Right, so...
How was that not done? Like, I just want to know, understand.
I can answer that.
So, for this topic, as it's taught in the ministry book, as it's described in the ministry book, is not essentially a religious topic. It's not religious education. This is essentially about the life of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, as he was born and as he died. It's a timeline, if you like, and that's how we developed it. So we try to avoid, because the Muslims will get Islamic studies lessons, the non-Muslims don't, certainly not in our school, maybe in some schools they do, in our school they don't, and so we try to avoid mixing the two. I share an office with the head of Islamic Studies, so I was consulting him anyway, as I was saying, what should I do here, what should I do there? What can I say is a learning experience for me? And of course, that then we explain to the students, how can we talk about the life of the Prophet, peace be upon him, and what are the cultural things that we need to do and not do. So, and the students themselves then could speak to each other. What really amazed me about this particular topic is how the students, who are best friends and have been in the same school, our school starts in FS1, they're now in year 9, so we are 8, 9, 10 years into their education, and they've never had a discussion with each other, despite being sat on the next table, about their religious identity, ever. So a Hindu, Christian and Muslim person never, and it's an opportunity for the Muslim students to explain these aspects, things and key phrases from their religious identity to each other. And I could hear those conversations in the class as they were working through it, and occasionally a group would stop, and I would think, I'd obviously has something gone wrong, and then definitely they go and explain to them why we don't depict images, or some people don't depict images in Islam, or we say peace be upon him after we say Prophet Muhammad, and things like that. So that was really, for me, that was very powerful in terms of a learning experience for both sets, and you've got that conversation going amongst students who are Muslim and non-Muslim. Emiratis, there weren't many Emiratis in the classes, we don't have a huge number, and non-Emiratis. So the lessons 1, 2, 3 and 4, quite fast paced, so we spent the first lesson discussing what we're going to do, working in pairs, sometimes threes, some research, making notes. I found it very important to explain to them how to plan. If you're going to do a display, a podcast, PowerPoint, whatever it is, it needs to be planned in some detail before you start. Otherwise you end up with something in the top corner of a display and then run out of material. Finally, at the beginning here, we always give them success criteria. So the success criteria for this particular topic would have included elements of how is your display or your podcast or your film going to be creative, as well as how is it going to give us details about the life of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. So both aspects of the sort of skills and also the knowledge were the success criteria. Finally, there were some presentations and most importantly, self and peer marking using those success criteria. So they self and peer marked across the topic.
You have a question?
Yes. Have you actually, I mean, you said that a couple of times you were worried that there might be some problems.
Yeah.
Have there actually been?
No, not in. I've taught it. So I've taught it on a rota. So I've taught it to 4 different groups. The big problem was that on the 4th time I was getting a bit tired of teaching it. It's like, again, same lessons 4 times. But that was the thing. So, but it was my enthusiasm teaching the same way. So I was thinking maybe changing the way I was teaching. Yes.
I asked the question that links into the point the lady made, is that in my school where all of our students are from different Arab countries.
Yeah.
We have some Christians from Egypt, where there seems to be a high degree of sensitivity to the exposure to Islam.
Yeah, and I think that's why it's important that, I mean, it's not the case in all. I can think of 2 teachers who teach social studies that are Muslims. However, the majority of our teachers that teach social studies are probably Christian, wouldn't you say so? Yeah. And I think that the non-Muslim children feel a safety in that, feel a safety in being inquisitive, wanting to know the actual, let's say, the basics of the religion, just in exactly the same way that Muslims want to know the basics of Christianity or whatever other religion. And I think that certainly from students' feedback that we've had, and we've done quite a lot of student voice on this, they do feel that safety in the classroom, asking what they may be perceived to their friends as basic, simple, almost silly questions. However, when it's a case when you've got a non-specialist teaching it, the teacher might say, I don't know, perhaps somebody else in the class can give us an answer there, and perhaps we'll investigate the answers to it as well. And that feeling of safety is very, very important to us, and it fosters the understanding which goes all the way back full circle to being a true global citizen.
I'll go back to what I said. It's definitely not a religious studies lesson. And I steer clear of anything like that. So this is historical, so we have dates. Yeah.
Sorry, I myself as a Muslim, and when I teach, I do take care of the sensitivities. And I start with the note where an inclusion is there. So I talk about the things which are very common and which are appreciated by all, rather than going into things which are debatable.
Okay, so this is just a sample of students' work. I could have brought amazing videos or podcasts or PowerPoint presentations that I could have gone through. I decided against that. This is just an example of one way that students have actually delivered it. This would have been a group of 4, and they've divided up aspects of, I think it was parts of the sea, and how the sea and the ocean is important to Dubai. And these particular students have chosen to do it on big pieces of card. You know, not all schools have the resources to be able to produce things, you know, wonderful PowerPoints, presentations, you know, on video, etc. So they chose to do this on pieces of cards and a little bit of word processing as well, which still gets the message across and it still meets the success criteria. Is it you? Or was it me? Oh, was it me? Okay. It's also the curriculum as well as Key Stage 3, it's also embedded throughout our entire curriculum in school. So for example, in economics, they will look at the economics of the UAE, how the finances works here, how the no tax system works, where the money comes from, and etc., etc. Innovation is a huge thing in terms of social awareness and where this country is actually going to. So it's very, very important that that is included within our curriculum. Within arts and culture, we look at the very rich cultural and visual aspects of this country and make sure that those are reflected in our projects. And one of the things that never ceases to amaze me, this is the subject that really engages our children more than anything, is the human geography of this country, which is, you know, it's an amazing opportunity to have a look at human geography and how this country works, and it's a very popular subject. This is just a few examples. Every curriculum area has parts of the social studies within the teaching, be it maths, looking at the statistics of the country, or you know, the maths within the Burj Khalifa, or all the way through to music, where we look at different types of Arabic music and the way that is put together. It goes through everything, and you'll see it all around our school as well. This is just an example of students doing some work in maths on the population and producing some graphs, etc.
The ministry curriculum is much more detailed than the Ministry of Education textbooks, and what we've done is we've taken the ministry curriculum and asked subject leaders to map aspects of it in their integrated into their teaching. So we do have the standalone lessons, one lesson a week, but we also it's integrated into subject-specific areas as well. History, geography lends itself very well, but so does science, some aspects of it, and certainly in Islamic studies and PSHE, personal social health education.
Okay, and there's some examples here of the work on the left is Year 7 artwork, using the style and the imagery of the culture of the UAE, and again it's understanding and respect for the ruler that goes through the artwork within our school. What you've got to remember that in our particular school, we're kind of about 20% British, 25% Indian students, 25% Arabs, and the rest just come from everywhere else. We've got a small percentage of Emiratis. I think currently we have about 52 in the school of 2,600. However, do you want to do this? Yeah.
Every student in the school has an experience or an interaction with the Sheikh Mohammed Centre for Cultural Understanding every year. It's quite a task, I know Tracy organises it, it's quite a task to get them in or to ask students to go and visit, but every student in the school has that interaction with them, so we have a very close relationship with them. I'm not sure if they could handle that with every school in Dubai, but there's certainly things out there that you can utilise resources like the Sheikh Mohammed Centre, which you could utilise and then in interaction with, say, real Emiratis. We don't have many in our school, but we also do, go to the next slide, Tracy will talk about, have Emiratis in the school, not many of them. But
so every year we have, round about National Day, we don't have National Day in school, we have our National Week of Culture. And within this week, the students, our Emirati students who are pictured here, these are our senior Emirati students, they form a panel and they plan what our Week of Culture is going to be. They're very resourceful in the kind of things that they can bring in. They know where to go to book experiences. Equally, it gives them the opportunity to plan and present something about their culture, and they will visit classes around the school talking about traditional cooking in the traditional garments and talking about why they wear them and the significance of them. And that is really powerful to our students. It's better than watching a film or me standing up there and telling them through pictures and PowerPoints. That is their own peers, the Emirati peers, telling them and giving them those cultural experiences. It also keeps that culture alive and purposeful for the Emirati students who, feel that they are losing their culture. It's a fantastic week for them. They absolutely love it. They love planning it, they get very excited, and they build their confidence going around school delivering. So there's a couple of students in there who have gone on to, from the experience of that, gone on to compete in the World Scholars Cup and become much more global citizens because they've been empowered with this experience. The whole week is mapped, so everybody gets a couple of cultural experiences, plus we have the traditional assemblies and dress up and food, etc. But the kind of things that go on might be children going talks on the significance of pearl diving and what that meant, and then bringing examples in, and some of them will bring their parents in to talk about what it was like prior to, or their grandparents probably will be now, prior to 1971. I find it the most powerful cultural experience for our students, for our Emiratis, and for the wider community as well. It's something that KHDA have loved because we're not just playing lip service to National Day and a bit of dress up and waving a flag. Okay, we're really looking deeper at the cultural diversity of this.
So just for clarification, I'm understanding that you host this event in alignment with National Day? Is it
around the same week? Yeah.
Okay, so late November, late December, but you are celebrating all the cultures at your school during that time?
That will be International Day. No, this is National Week of Culture, UAE National Week of Culture. So it's looking at cultural experiences from this country. Okay.
Okay, in addition, in our main display areas, which will be on our ground floor of the school, which is a very big school, I don't know if you've been to Wellington, a fifth, about 20% of all displays have an Emirati theme to them. Here's an example of Emirati theme about Emirati citizenship, which are linked to the Ministry of Education textbook or curriculum. Alternatively, it could be something about Emirati vision or something about a local community. There's an example of a UAE 2020 vision, 2021 vision display. So almost a fifth, I think at least a fifth.
Yeah, it's at least, yeah.
Have that theme relating to something or other. And it could be something that is created specifically by the social studies groups. It could be something that is created by integrated within the departments. There are other displays, for example, ESS, which is the social geography, social science and geography subject in IB. They've developed stuff on environmental awareness, specifically directly related to the 2020 vision.
Okay, we've touched on this already. This is just some quotes that I have from the student voice about what students say about social studies in school. If I'm completely honest with you, when I was told, I think it must have been June last year, that you're responsible for delivering the social studies curriculum and you've got 12 teachers who've never taught it before and they haven't really got much time to plan it, but come September they'll be teaching this, for some of them 4 lessons a week. I was nervous. I was thinking they're not going to want to do it. They're going to find it completely out of their comfort zone. And the first time I met with them, they didn't want to do it and they felt completely out of their comfort zone. However, the actual experience this year has been nothing but positive. And I've not had a single teacher who's teaching this year come to me and say, because the timetable's done now, I don't want to teach it next year. I've actually had the opposite. I've actually had teachers saying to me, I really like teaching social studies, can I please keep it on my timetable next year? In terms of student voice, which you see here, students are positive the whole time. What's your experience been with, because you teach it?
I teach it to year 9 and to year 7. If it's well planned, we have good structured lessons, the students will enjoy it. We get them to work together collaboratively, we get them to have open-ended tasks but related to direct success criteria. The students enjoy it and therefore the teacher will enjoy it. So it's my experience of year 9 teachers and the year 7 teachers who I work with. On a personal level, I explained earlier about that sort of, I've been a global citizen all my life, 40 odd years, and I feel isolated in the UAE. I grew up, part of my life as a child was here, I grew up here and I felt isolated as a community, and Dubai is very much like that, where you have an Indian community, you have a British community, you have even the Australian community separate, and everyone partitions themselves almost naturally. Whether it's natural or not, I don't know. But it's a chance here for everyone to get together and have a discussion, including the teacher. So I share anecdotes about my life growing up in different countries of the world, in different cultures and my religion, and they do the same with each other. And we don't have many Emiratis in each class, 52 in the whole school. But those few that we do have in those classes are definitely take centre stage and become the experts in the classroom.
This is, I asked for a quote from Sarah, who's new to Wellington this year. She's an English teacher who teaches 4 lessons of social studies. And she actually told me this on the yard the other day, and I said to her, can you just write that down and send it to me? And I just put it straight in. She said it's really helped her to settle in Dubai, to have that understanding, because she's gone away and she's investigated things herself. So, you know, we're all lifelong learners. She's learnt instantly, it's forced her to learn about the culture of this amazing city, and she just finds it such a positive experience, which I thought was lovely, and that's coming through again and again from the teachers. So I suppose what we're saying to sum up is, don't be afraid of going into the social studies curriculum. Stick to the topics that are in the ministry book, because okay, Wellington's an outstanding school, and it was commented again this year that even though it's not a particular judgment, but in terms of understanding Islamic values and other cultures, you know, we are judged consistently as outstanding. So ensure that there is some structure to it, but in terms of the way it's delivered in the classroom, let your teachers be the creative facilitators, shall we say, and let the children run with it. And then it becomes quite a natural thing for them to do, and it's the right thing for us to do here in this country. Okay, any questions? It's a long day. Yes?
Comment,
Yeah, cool.
There's been a lot of talk today about, I think you started saying that Dubai, because of the sheer number of people in different countries, can be considered to be high development. I think about the point that you just made about the extent to which people don't actually necessarily, because they live in the same country, interact with each other and have understanding. I think that needs to be recognised. But I think it overstated a little bit.
I agree with you. I mean, I reflected on my journey here this morning. I chose, because Richard was joining me later and he was driving, I chose to get the metro. And I very rarely get the metro down to this end of town. And I stepped off the metro and suddenly I felt like I wasn't in my environment. Now that's quite a difficult thing for me to say, but that's the way I felt. I didn't feel like I was in my own environment. Suddenly I felt like I was in a different country from when I feel like when I'm at the other end of town. And it's important that we recognise that.